Okay, awesome. Well, I hear a little voice. Let's see. Okay, so I'm Tawni Beardall. Nice to meet you all. I maybe you saw when Eddie introduced all four of us coaches, and I kind of hid out for a little while because I was going through chaos in my personal life, moving. I got divorced. I remodeled a house. You name it. It was been a crazy couple months, but I'm feeling so ready to be here. I've been thinking about what I would want to share with you guys when I was ready, and I just am so excited to be part of this community. I love what has been created. I think there's so much positivity and help for growth for business and personal life. So I'm excited to contribute, and I can't wait to share the things I've learned and my perspective as a coach. So just to introduce you, I am a certified strengths coach through Gallup, and I'm also one of our coaches here at Unleash Your Strengths. And I am from Boise. I live in a little town called Hidden Springs. It's so adorable. It's like, I don't know, Mayberry, just this cutest community you've ever seen. There's a little mercantile my kids can walk to and get little 5-cent candies. It's just the perfect place for us because I'm a single mom now of 4 kids. And that's been awesome. I am a podcaster. I just celebrated my 2nd year anniversary of doing that. That's been amazing. Thank you. Over 100 episodes, and most of which have been geared towards teenagers. And the podcast is called Becoming. And I'm going to show you I'm going to share my screen here. So most of which, like I said, has been for teenagers. We talk a lot about what we wish we knew as teens, but honestly, a lot of our listeners are adults saying, this is still very incredibly helpful to me. So we've been, I do want to focus highly on teens. And I hope that's helpful for this community. But I also, this year with our podcast, we're just going to everyone because I feel like I've learned so much, and I just want to share the growth that I've been able to experience and how I can help. So our tagline with my podcast is becoming more than you are down here in this corner and who you were always meant to be. And that's kind of my focus. With the podcast, I'm all about loving who you are right now, but also wanting to grow and learn more as we go. Something else about me, I'm a gymnastics coach, which I just love. Not because so much I love gymnastics, but I'm a developer. That's my number 2, but it's probably the one I resonate with the most. And I love helping others bring out their potential. I love helping others see the gifts that they already have inside of them. So that's why I really just adore being a gymnastics coach. It's so fun to help others see their potential, and it's just part of me. I love it. So, oh yes, do we have a question? Let's see. I thought I heard somebody. Maybe they were just getting on. So welcome all of you who are just joining us. I am just talking a little bit about who I am, and what I just shared was basically a timeline of my life, or the emphasis of what I've focused my energy on. But if you just look at this list here, this is actually my top strengths. This is my 34. And I feel like if you really just need to know me, all you got to do is look at this. That's all you really need to do to get to know who I am. And if you see here, look at all this blue. I am a high in relationship building. I got some influencing, but I don't feel like I'm very fluffy. I feel like I have a lot of grit to me. And at first, when I took this test, I only got my top 5. So for about a year and a half, that's all I had. And I was like, I'm so much more, I have more depth than that. And when I got on here and I see these 2 executing at the end, that to me like shows that that's how I show up and execute all of these top ones. So yeah, that's the kind of coach I am. It was interesting when I got certified with Gallup, they let us do an hour with one of their professional coaches that's been doing it for years and years and years. And it was interesting to hear his perspective on me. He's like, oh my goodness, it's like God made you to be a coach. And that was the biggest compliment to me, because I definitely feel home here. I definitely feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. I love, especially here, my developer and connectedness, empathy, communication. This is me. This is who I am. And I love to help others see those things within themselves. Especially, like I said, I connect most with my developer, and I love meeting people. So what you're doing for me right now is fueling me. I just feel so full of love and energy, and I'm so excited to be here. Sorry, I'm just checking to make sure no one's in the waiting room right now. Okay, so another thing you should really know about me is I have this perspective on coaching that I like to have a foundation based with these three things. I think if you have a strong foundation with mind, body, and spirit, you're just going to live a next level life. And the way that I believe that's done is finding the balance between these things. So when I coach you, I'm going to come in with all of these three things in mind, and we're going to discuss those things. And so something that, with the way I do this is discussing things such as, self-love, that's focusing here on the body, and mindfulness and meditation, healthy living. And I believe there's a strong connection between our mind and our gut health, and spirituality with the spirit. I am a very, very spiritual person, but I don't have any expectation or judgment on you and how you do things. I don't care who you believe in, what higher power, what church. I don't care if you believe it or not, but I just feel like there's such a connection between that mind, body, spirit, and how important it is to have them all in balance and to have that harmony. And why I believe that is because I've lived it myself. When I have felt the most balance with these things, that's when I have been my happiest. That's when I have been the most fulfilled. And I want you guys to know that I love engaging. Before I keep going, if you have a question, if you have input, we learn the best by learning and sharing with each other. So please feel free to chime in. I can't see everyone, so you can just take it off of mute and just join the conversation. I'd love it. But even with these three things in balance, I have to say, with my recent divorce, I was married 17 years, and that was coming up on nearly half of my life. And I thought it was really interesting that when my friends and people I know are finding out, they are just in shock. Like, what? How are you doing okay? How are you doing so well? And I do feel like I was able to walk away from the divorce unscathed and just so full of love still, and light and happiness. And when I've been asked that question, I don't know, 50 times, because they're just, wait, you look fine, you look happy. And I'm heartbroken, and life didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But I have to tell you that I feel completely at peace and harmony with myself, because I have worked on these three things. I've made sure I'm highly balanced in these three areas. And when you do that with your strengths in the forefront of each of these, how I look at how I think, how I feel about myself, and with my spirit connection, I've done those things with my strengths in mind every time. And that's how I've been able to feel so happy and so balanced in such a difficult time. And also, I have realized that there is just this duality that I've found within myself. And what I mean by that is I'm just so self-aware after I've really worked on these three areas, that I can tell when I'm not living my best self. And by duality, I mean right here that I believe that every human has two identities. We have two identities within us that we kind of flip-flop back and forth from. And our true identity here, I think that is who God created us individually to be. We are so unique and individual. And that true identity is going to look very different for each person. I think that's just divinely, it's the divinity within us. It's just divinely who we are. And when we are living in those strengths, we own them, we believe them, and we know what they are, and we're using them daily. That's when we're living in our true identity. I also wrote that that's just innate within us. Often when you take like a personality test or a strengths test, they want you to answer them and how you were as a younger child. And that's because we were born with these strengths that are just innate inside of us. And it's when we're living with intention, we're choosing the way we live. We're not just letting life happen and we're going through the motions and just being reactionary. So, and also when we're living in our true identity, I think that's when we interact with the most love and the most patience and respect for other people. So first of all, I always want to keep the strengths in here because it's my belief that when we use those, that's when we're at our best selves. But I use those with all of these different things with my intention and understanding what's innate in me. So then we have our false identity that I think it's just natural. We kind of flip flop and we digress and life happens. And when you're in your false identity, you're more reactionary. It's not like a choice. It's just like you're just reacting to the living in the moment rather than being more intentional. This is when we're quicker to judge. We're quicker to anger. I believe when we struggle with physical temptations, struggling with food or substances, we're living in our false identity there. When we're struggling with addiction, those things come from our false identity when we let that natural man just kind of take over us. And it's also when we just have a need for control. We want to be in charge of everything, and we just feel like overwhelmed when things don't go the way we want them to, And also, I believe when we're in our false identity, this is when comparisons occur, when we just don't feel good enough. We compare, we look at others and how they do things, and we just are unhappy with how we're showing up and we want to be someone else. That's when we're in our false identity. We're not living in our strengths. We're looking at our weaknesses. We're like, oh gosh, I wish I could do that. When if we just look at the strengths, it'll pull us back into this true identity that we were meant to live in. So let me quickly get a drink here. So my goal as a coach is to help you guys learn how to harness that true identity within you and living with the strengths in the forefront of every single thing you do. So this leads me to want to discuss my why behind why I love strengths and believe in it so much. And because I believe when you understand the why behind why you're doing things, you have such a greater foundation to succeed. And that's why I do focus on why a lot. When I coach you, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about why. Why are you thinking that way, feeling? Why do you think that's important or necessary? The why behind everything to me is vital to understand. But before we get further into that, I really want to ask you guys, and I'm going to have you guys, some of you unmute when you're ready, but I want to know if you guys believe there is a difference between happiness and joy. This is going to tie into the why. So I'm going to see if I can change my screen to see more of you. Does anyone have a comment on that? What is the difference between happiness and joy? Do you believe there is a difference? I had this discussion with a friend recently, and I just found it really fascinating. Let's see.
I'll talk.
Thank you, Sydney.
I came in late. I was at a team meeting.
Welcome.
Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
I think happiness comes from situational things, usually from the outside.
Yes.
And we can lose our happiness, but joy, it comes from a deeper place. It comes from your heart. It comes from your soul. It comes from a place that really can't be. It can change. It can be changed in intensity, because we can be really more joyful at times, but I think it's a deeper connection
Yeah.
to our contentment, I
Oh,
guess is the,
perfect.
yeah.
Oh, you just did a wonderful job of explaining that. So I agree. Same thing. I think happiness is like moments. There are moments that occur. Sorry, a bug just landed on me. There are moments that occur. It's like when you're going through the motion of life and something just touches you and you smile and you laugh and you feel that happiness. But you're right. I think it's external and we try to pull it in. It's when I eat something delicious. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I love food. And when I specifically chocolate, when I eat chocolate, I my like really fine good chocolate, not just like, the whatever my kids got from their basket or trick or treating. I close my eyes and I got a little dance going on. I love, and it brings me happiness, truly. Like food will bring me happiness. It's just those little moments that you just feel excited, you feel joy, excitement and happiness, but I think it's fleeting. Happiness is fleeting. It comes and it goes, and we're always reaching for it again. So, like with food, I can feel good. I'm like, oh, that made me feel good. But then the buzz goes away and I want it again. And I'm reaching for it again and I want it again. So, whether that's food, whether that's a feeling that I had, it's fleeting, it leaves quickly. But joy, on the other hand, is lasting. And I don't think it varies as much from moment to moment. It lives within us. It's something inside of us that exudes out. Who's been around someone that's just exudes joy? Isn't it just so fun to be with someone like that? It definitely comes from the outside in. And I guarantee you, it's because that person is living in their true identity and they are living with their strengths in the forefront. That is why they have joy. It's almost that feeling like I am exactly where I'm meant to be. I am exactly who I want to be. And I'm here where it just feels like that deja vu feeling, like I've felt this before. It's like a memory of this is me, this is who I'm supposed to be. And I think that's joy. And why I bring this up with my why is because before strengths, before I knew any of this, it was right at the beginning of when I started my podcast and found like a strong purpose inside of me. I was a happy person. People would totally say, oh yeah, Tawni, she's really happy. And I loved myself. I definitely did. But I always felt like something was missing. I can't explain it. I just felt like something was missing and I couldn't figure out exactly who I was supposed to be or what my main purpose was. And it's kind of fascinating to look back. It's about 2 years ago that I learned my strengths and took the assessment. And it was because I interviewed this incredible woman. Her name's Heather, and she owns a company called Aligned Ambition. And what she does is she helps teens and young adults or adults discover what they want to do for career. She puts you through this huge program, helps teens pick their career, pick what they want to do for college. And so I interview her all about it. And then afterwards, she says, I want to put you through my program to see if you want to be an affiliate and work with me. We're near, like, we are dear, dear friends now. I found out I interview people from all over the country. Would you believe she lived 5 minutes away from me? Didn't know until we were on our Zoom interview. It was like God was like, you guys are supposed to be friends. So her and I have a podcast partner and we've become dear friends. We work together. We've done programs for many different people. And we've done it for teens, like workshops, and it's been amazing. So she puts me through the test. This is like over a year and a half ago. And before she does, she says, hey, what are your strengths? Can you tell me what your strengths are? And as a nearly 40-year-old woman, I couldn't. I just sat there going, huh. I can still do a backflip. Does that count as a strength? Or I think I give a pretty good haircut, but I could not verbalize what my strengths were. And if you remember, my top five, three of them are relationship building, two are influencing. 8 of my top 10 are relationship building. It is very, very hard to verbalize that. It's not external. It's not easy for people to verbalize when those are your gifts. They're not as tangible. They're not as easy to express and to be noticed. So I could tell, I'm like, I like who I am. I think I'm a good person, but I couldn't pinpoint verbiage to explain like my strengths and my gifts. And I've got to tell you that when I see my Gallup like written out, I just was like, oh, like this is me. And I finally could acknowledge that within me that I have these special gifts and they are with people. They're not, I always thought gifts and strengths were, she's an artist, she's a musician. I don't have those. I can't tangibly show you my gifts. I can do that heart to heart, soul to soul. I love people. I love connecting people. No one is a stranger to me. They're just friends I haven't met yet. And those are my gifts. And it's really interesting that when I finally see that, like it's this scientific program, this test took 50 years to develop. I am unique and special. And this isn't my mom saying, oh, Tawni, you're good at that or that. This is this test that proves this is who I am. And when I saw that, it was like, it was very spiritual to me. And it was like an awakening. I'm like, this is who I am and who I'm meant to be. And it was incredible. I learned how to just claim what was in front of me with these strengths. And I noticed when I was living them, I was living in joy. That's when I found my joy. I looked for opportunities to use these strengths, and I found like true joy. And I've noticed that over the past 2 years that I definitely work to have those more in the forefront of my life. And it's been just amazing experience. And when I did that, I found I was a more motivated person. And I think all of us have this natural willpower inside of us. And it's interesting. I feel like my willpower doubled. And have you heard it been called why power? When you know your why, it's like this extra power. It's like beyond willpower. It's your why power. And my motivation doubled. And I learned how to execute my goals and dreams far better than I ever have. And I'm telling you, even the hardest year of my life, everyone's like, oh, 2020, it's just horrible. I'm like, you don't even know. I mean, we shouldn't compare ever. Everyone's hard is hard, no matter what. There is no comparison. But I'm like, this has been a tough year, but I'm also the happiest I've ever been. How is that possible? Right? It's just, it seems like it can't be, but I'm telling you, when you really own and claim these strengths within you, it is amazing. So I want to know, what is your why? I want you guys to write in the comments. I think I've seen some comments come in, but I've been so focused. What is your why? Tell me, why are you here? Why did you join this community? What do you want to get out of being here? And if anyone wants to share, I would love to unmute you in here. Oh, good. People are talking about happiness and joy. Joy is unchanged by your circumstances, right? That's why going through this horrible divorce, I didn't go down this, rabbit hole. My circumstances changed, but I was still so full of love and happiness. So I see connectedness is why she wants to be here. Let's see. Anyone else want to share your why? I think most of you have, you want to grow your business. I think that's a huge thing. And I can't wait to talk about how to use your strengths personally to be able to do all of those things. Like I said, it's personally and with your business. Why? To become the best version of me, to show my daughter that anything is possible, to be able to help more people reach them authentically. Oh, I love it, Tracy. That's awesome. So I want you guys, even if you don't feel like sharing it right now, think about that. That's a big deal. You need to know your why. You need to understand why you're here, what you want to get out of this. So why that's been on my mind a lot as I have coached new people. And I got to let some more friends in here. As I coach more people and have these discussions, I really want to help everyone understand that. But an analogy came to me that I'm like, this explains. Uh, sorry. I wanted to share one more thing. When a side effect of not only finding my why through strengths, a side effect that I've found is that I dropped all comparisons. Does anyone here, or have you ever struggled with comparisons? I think I've been on a bunch of calls with watching, old calls with coaching calls, and I've seen you guys talk about being a diamond. So I am a doTERRA lover. I am not in your network. I don't sell it, but I've been using the oils for, I don't know, years and years and years. And I know that's something desirable, but I've seen people like want to emulate the different strengths that a diamond might often have. And so I felt like really strongly today pulled to talk to you guys about comparisons. And one thing that really helped me was that when I found verbiage to express my strengths, I think that was just the start. And what ended up happening was I just grew so much confidence. And, we talk about in the new member meetings that these are not, it's funny, Gallup calls them strengths because they're actually just talents. It's like what's innate in us, but they're not quite a strength yet. They turn into a strength when you use them, when you work on them, and then they become your strength. So I think it's interesting to know that, like, I noticed, okay, these are my talents, but how can I use them more? And when I looked for opportunities to use them and grow, I turned these talents into strengths, and I can see that now. But as I did that process of looking for, even though it scared me, I looked for opportunities to speak and develop people and coach. And that helped me feel more comfortable in my own skin. So you need to look for ways, even if you're scared. Being scared doesn't mean you're in the wrong place and you shouldn't be doing it. It's actually saying, like, come out of that shell and work on it. So look for opportunities to push yourself a little and to find ways to use your top 10 more regularly. And another cool thing was I looked at everyone differently. And when I would meet someone new or a friend I've known for a while, I just sit there going, I wonder what their top 5 are. And I began to see people differently. I just honestly I saw beauty in everyone. I'm like, wow, look at her use that. And it like opened my eyes, my vision got wider, and wow. And I just felt like the comparison stopped. And as I've been thinking about this analogy I talked about just came to my mind. And I want you guys to picture, we're on this journey. We're all here on this earth. We're on our own journey. We're all very, very uniquely different. And I don't know if you remember in the statistics, but having someone with the same top 5 of yours in the exact same order is 1 in 33 million people. That's insane. That shows you how special and unique you really, really are. And when I think about that, I'm fascinated by each person. I want to know how they think, why they think that, how they process information, how they execute things differently. And I'm just so interested in it. So this made me think that we're all just kind of on our own journey. It's like we have a roadmap. Everyone's got their own roadmap and their own route they have to take, and everyone is their own car. So let's say we have these different destinations and routes, and let's say even if you are on this, you want to get to the same destination as someone else, you can totally have that same goal. You can achieve anything you've seen and want, but I'm telling you, you need to have your own map and your own car. So I want you to think, like, picture your life right now with me. Just kind of step back and be an observer of your life. And what does it look like? What has it been like? Has it been fast and furious? Has your road had tons of turns and quick corners you have to get around and you need to speed through the highway? Have you had to be agile and learn how to pivot quickly? Maybe that means you're a sports car. You have this really sick, sweet, fast, awesome sports car. Well, for my life, my road hasn't really looked like that. It's not fast and crazy. It's actually this really steep, dirty, dirty dirt road with tons of potholes. And I am this Jeep right here. I am totally this Jeep. And it, to me, it doesn't mean I can love the sports car. I can look at the sports car and say, dang, that's beautiful. But also I can realize that I don't need a sports car to be able to navigate the terrain that I was meant to be on. I can admire the sports car, but that sports car would get wrecked on my road. So I want you to think about your life, and it doesn't mean that I can't look at that and say that's beautiful and I want to have attributes of that, but it means that I need to stay in my own lane. I need to realize that the path I was meant to live in my life gave me the strengths that I have for a purpose. And I can look at her strengths and go, gosh, that's awesome, but I don't need it for my own journey, for my own path. And when I looked at life that way, it just dissolved any comparison I felt to anyone. And it made me feel so much happier. My relationships were better, and I just let go of that need to compare. I don't need the sports car for my journey. I need my Jeep, because if I got a shift because another pothole came, if I was in that sports car, I'd destroy it. So I want you guys to think about what is the car that you are driving? Let's get back into the comments again. What has your life looked like? I mean, are you a limousine or a big 15 passenger car that you are just, it feels like you're the chauffeur and you're making sure everyone else's life is going well? I know that as parents, often we all feel like that. But what do you think your car is like? What has your terrain been like? What do you need? What kind of vehicle do you need to get through your specific life? Oh, we got an SUV. So there's been some road hazards for Anita and off-road experiences. Make sure you keep that SUV handy. Isn't it fascinating to think about? I just think it's fun to like step back and look at it differently. Okay, what else? I want one more car, everybody. What are you? Maybe you're a Jeep like me. Maybe you got a sports car too. We got a BMW. Don't want to look all that flashy, but I'm sneaky fast. I love that. That's cute. I want you guys to think about this. Let's see. I've had one more, but then I got off the chat and I can't find it again. Here we go. Mine goes from a tank to a sports car. Ooh, it's like a transformer, maybe, depending on what road she's traveling. I love that, Patty. Okay. So I want to pull this back into like a real life example. So like I said before, I have a podcast partner and her name's Erica, and she is incredible. So I told you 8 of the 10 of mine are relationship building and influencing. So where do you guys think most of my strategic and executing themes are? Not so high. They're not so high. But Erica is my co-host. She is just full of executing and strategic things. And we are like best friends. We get along. We vibe really, really well. And would you believe she has achiever and activator both in her top 5? I mean, this woman can get things done. And in the past, I would have felt extremely envious of that. I would have judged myself on her progress and how she does things. And I would have been like, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. And it would have made me feel bad. Like, why can't I be good at that? Why is she so good at that? And I struggle. So now it's just so funny now that I have looked at the world differently and I've just owned my strengths. I can step back and look at her beautiful, efficient car without feeling less than with myself. She is this gorgeous Mercedes right here. She is efficient. She's reliable. She is incredible. And I'll tell you what, when I was being coached by one of the Gallup, like incredible coaches, he said to me, Tawni, your magic lies with people. And he said, if you want to run a business, you could kill it. But I'm telling you, you wouldn't like doing the business part. He's like, look at your bottoms. And what you need is to focus on where your magic lies. You're the same, Anita. You need to focus where your magic lies, not down here. and I'm not even interested. I could, if I wanted to, I could totally do all the business things. I'm capable. But does it fuel me? Does it give me energy? Does it excite me? Does it make me feel just full of love and joy? No, it doesn't. So what I do now is I outsource. He said, "You, Tawni, you need an entourage of people that can do the things that you don't want to spend your time doing. That's what you need." And Erica is my entourage. She, when I told her I was doing this, I said, "I have these slides and I don't even know how to do it." Guess what? I outsourced to Erica and she did the slideshow for me. Isn't that cool? I get to show up as my best self. I didn't have to spend my time and energy working on this. It doesn't fulfill me. It doesn't, oh, you struggling hearing me? It doesn't fulfill me. It doesn't even excite me really. But guess what? When I reach out to Erica and I say, "Gosh, I see your gifts. I see how talented you are in this and this." She feels loved. She feels noticed. She feels recognized, and she's happy to use her gifts and talents to serve me. I pay her, but she would do it. Isn't that interesting how that works? When I can step back and say, my magic is not in her gifts. I'm going to let her do that, and I can focus on what brings me fulfillment and joy. And then I don't compare myself. I just like, I can see the beauty in her Mercedes, and I can jump back in my Jeep and be on my happy way. I just outsource now. You have to really see where you want to spend your time and your energy, and where you don't feel that excitement. Maybe you should just look for someone else to fulfill that spot. I don't know if that means you need a business partner or you just pay somebody to do that, and you focus your energy on where your magic is. You'll be more successful. I can promise you that. And when you're trying to dip down in those bottoms, I'm not saying you can't. You can do it. You can achieve anything you want to. You can get to that goal, but you're going to probably get a flat tire. You're going to get burned out. You're going to run out of gas if you're always dipping into those bottom things to achieve the goal. So imagine it's a mountain, and up here, let's say, I'm sorry I keep using this because I know most of you are doTERRA goals. And let's say you want to get this diamond. I'm not being a diamond rep. I'm sure I'm messing all that up, guys. Be patient with me. But we're all going to get to the mountain a different way. Someone's going to rock climb up that mountain. I mean, I know I used vehicles, but now I'm using just different modes. Someone's going to hike. Someone's going to take a tram. Someone's going to helicopter in. It doesn't matter. Y'all are going to get there. You can achieve anything you want to, any goal and dream. You can look at her and say, I want that. I'm not saying you can't strive for what other people have. I'm just saying use your own vehicle, use your gifts, because I know that it feels phony. Have you ever seen someone just show up and they're trying to emulate what someone else did and it just doesn't feel right? You're like, something's off about them. It just doesn't feel right. And I've seen it when someone, and myself even, I'm like, gosh, she did that this way and I need to do it that way too. And you think that, but in reality, people sense that and go like, I don't vibe with that girl. Like, it's because we're trying to use their roadmap. No, we need to use ours, and you'll still get there. I promise you. And you'll get there happier, more fulfilled. You won't get those flat tires. You won't run out of gas because you're using the strengths that are in front of you that you're meant to have. So one thing I want to share with you is I was with my kids driving, and this has been on my mind a lot. Like I said, the comparison trap, how we get stuck there and how do we get out of it. And my kids watch a movie, and I listen to a lot of movies, and it was one of my very favorites. And I was realizing how this character was trying to use another, what he thought people would want him to do to achieve something. And he wasn't using his gifts and his strengths. And this movie was Kindergarten Cop. Have any of you seen that? Do you remember that old movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Oh my gosh, I love it. I think it's hilarious, but I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so strengths oriented. So I'm going to show you guys this clip. It's so fun. Let's see. So this first clip is about when when he's trying to emulate what he thinks other people will expect in a kindergarten teacher. He's trying to really show up that way. And let's see how it goes. What do you guys think?
Aren't you gonna break it up? No, 2 more days of this, and you'll quit.
Don't start this.
Okay. Do you guys love that movie as much as I do? He's just losing it. And she's like, if he keeps doing it the way he's doing it, he's only going to last 2 days. She's seeing that he's trying to do what he thinks other people expect out of a kindergarten teacher, even though that's not innately what rings true to him. Does that make sense? He's just trying to emulate someone else. How did they become good at this? I'm just going to copy what other people have done. And he's not engaging his own strengths. He's not thinking about who he is, what his natural gifts are. And he's not putting that into his daily actions here at the school. So let's see how Mr. Kimball changes when he decides to really put his innate gifts in front of him and see, like, wait, who am I? What am I good at? And let's see what happens here.
Tawni, can you mute the participants?
Handle this like any other police situation.
You're going to be my deputy trainees. You're not gonna have your mommies run behind you anymore like your little tushes. You're mine now.
I'm not a policeman. I'm a princess.
Okay, so he's getting more in his groove, and he's starting to feel a lot more like, okay, this isn't working, and he's stepping back. I think before, I guarantee you, he was living in his bottom strengths, and he was comparing himself, right? So now he's like, okay, how can I show up? How can I show up the best I can? Because he doesn't want to end up not succeeding. So this last clip kind of shows how he ended up.
Hi, kids.
Mr. Kimball!
I'm back.
Just joined the union.
Okay, so he shows up all confident, right? With his whistle, the kids respond well. He is innately who he is meant to be. He's using past successes he has to learn how to be successful with what's in front of him, even though it's not typical, even though it's not what you would expect of a kindergarten teacher, right? But he uses what is true to him. The kids, before they could sense something was off, and they took advantage of him. And now they're like, oh, he's in his zone, right? He's really feeling like he knows how to execute with his strengths in mind, and he's successful. And he becomes like the most favorite kindergarten teacher, and everybody just adores him. And they just have this great connection. And it wasn't because he is this fluffy, what you would expect for a kindergarten teacher. It's because he's owning who he is. Isn't that just a fun example? I think it's such a game changer to realize how valuable owning your individual strengths really is, and just staying in that space, how important that is. So let me pull you guys and stop sharing here so I can see you all a little better. We're about wrapping up here. I am super grateful I had this opportunity to talk today. Like I said, it fuels me. It makes me feel like that connection brings me so much joy. I could do this every single day. And I just like to really leave every time I coach, I find it super important to leave you guys with action items. I think that is so important. We can talk about it and be, like I said, I look like I'm all fluffy with all of my relationship building, but I have grit and I like getting things done. I love hard work and I love effort. Effort brings joy, and it brings your whatever life you want will come to fruition when you use your strengths and put in the effort. So what I want to leave you with today is these three things. Number one, and write this down if you have to, and I want you to really step back after this, close down, give yourself a few minutes, and I want you to really think about these things and how they're working for you. So first is your mind, body, spirit connection. How is it going? How are all of those three foundations working for you? Is something out of whack? Does something just not feel right with one of them? When you have that synergy with them working together, you're going to find your joy, right? Is something off? And what can you do to bring it back? And can you do that by yourself? Yeah. Or do you want someone else's perspective? Share with a friend or call one of the coaches here. So I want you to think about that mind, body, spirit connection. The second thing I want you to think about is the identities we talked about. We have our true identity. And that's when we live with our strengths in the forefront, what is innate and how God made us. And then we have this false identity that we sometimes fall back on. It's that reactionary identity where we're quick to anger, quick to judgment, quick to want to control and to compare. And think about that identity. And we do flip-flop back and forth. It's natural. We are like I said, we get stuck in just going through the motions and not having as much intention. And that space leads us to sometimes fall into that false identity. And it's okay, but be self-aware enough to recognize it and then pull yourself back. And we just flip the switch, say, nope, I have intention. I don't want to be that way.
You gotta let Dad do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. And then you pull back in to being in that true identity and who you are meant to be with the strengths in the forefront. And then the last one is the comparison trap. Notice when you're doing it, because that's not a fun place to live. That's the false identity. It doesn't feel good to be comparing yourself all the time. I want you to step back and I want you to, we talk about name, claim, and aim with your strengths. Naming them first, we need to know what they are. So discover them again, look at your strengths, read the summaries about them and claim them, own them as your own. Understand, look for ways to ask your family, say, hey, can you help me see when I use these if you need to, but claim them and then aim them, meaning that we are going to set goals and we're going to use them to achieve the goals. So with this comparison trap, I want you to recognize that beauty that is within you and that you have this ability to conquer anything you want, to achieve any goal you want. And I want you to see that beauty within yourself. And then I want you to try to open your eyes to see it with everyone else. And I promise you, it will change your relationships. I love strengths. It was created for businesses, the Gallup strength. That's what it was created for, to help teams and managers and individuals reach their highest potential for success. But what I've seen individually with people is it's changing their nature. It's changing their relationships and their compatibility with people. People are connecting to them easier because what you're doing is you're giving other people grace to be who they are as well. And like I said, like that example with my partner, you get to see the beauty in someone else without feeling less than or comparing yourself. And it creates this harmony with you and other people. You give them grace for the way they think. That's how they need to process. And I want to let them do that without judging them. And I want them to do the same for me. So if you have a loved one that hasn't taken this, that you feel like you want to connect better with, have them take the test. And then you can really understand, oh, well, they're just a strategic thinker. They really need to process through things. I'm not someone that does. I just go off of strict feelings. I'm like, oh, like deliberative is my bottom, my 34. I'm like, adaptive is my 9 because I can adapt to someone else. If they use their deliberative to choose things, I can quickly adapt to what the plan is, but I'm not going to use that. And if I know that my loved one needs that process, even though I don't need it, I want them to feel like they can own who they are and validate that in them. And I give them that time and that space to process. And then, we come together and make a plan. But those things, I want you to focus on those 3 things. And as a coach, if I am here for you, if you want help with any of those things, and I know the other 3 coaches are phenomenal. And it's really fun to see how different we approach things. And we're all like, if you need specific help with specific things, we're all each going to show up for you differently. So I think this helped you gain a greater understanding of who I am as a coach, what I have to offer you. And obviously this was only a quick hour of this, and I'm hoping I'm going to do this twice a month and just teach a different lesson. And one other thing, I know my other coaches are doing strengths reading. And it was funny when I talked to Dan, I said, you know what, Dan, I need to do my first, I'm ready to go, but it doesn't feel authentic to me to do strengths reading. I like teaching and I like connecting on a bigger level. And he's like, you do you, Tawni. He's like, great, do what feels authentic to you. And that's why I love this. I'm in my own lane. I'm driving my own car. I love what they do and they do it beautifully. And I don't think that's my biggest strength. So I'd rather show up the way that makes sense to me, if that makes sense. I just really love connecting. And so I'm hoping to do this twice a month. If you guys have different topics you'd like me to discuss and talk about, I'll always bring strengths into it, but there's many different things that I've discovered with just a broader coaching that has brought me happiness and success in business and personal life. That's what I'm planning on doing, is showing up with you guys twice a month to teach a class like this. I want to open up right now and to see if there's any questions, if there's any comments, any suggestions for what you guys want the future classes to be. How did this go? What did you guys think? Thank you, Deb. I like my applaud and the thumbs up. Does anyone have any questions before we say goodbye? Everyone's feeling pretty good. Do you feel like you're having less feelings of comparison right now? Like you're like seeing your beauty and your gifts.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
I feel very enthusiastic, but it's getting later.
You're tired.
Yeah, pretty soon. But no, I like the way you tied it together.
Thank you. I'm very passionate, obviously. That's something I get really excited about this. And so I do think it's fun to have different time zones too, because some of them go too early. They're, in the Eastern time zone. And it's nice to have the different options, because I want to get on a lot of their calls, but I'm like getting kids dinner and, so it's nice to have different options too. Well, please email me, message me if you have questions or want coaching, or just if you're like, I want you to focus on this next time, or this would be helpful for our community. If anything comes to mind, let me know, okay? Thank you for spending your night with me. Thank you, Tracy. I really enjoyed being with you guys. Have a great night. I can't wait to connect again soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.